Hello, Tony. Thank you so much for joining me for a coffee with the editor. This would be the first time on the show with me. So welcome, firstly. And you've also got some quite exciting news to share with me and with our audience. But before we get into it, I think if you could just do an introduction as to who you are and a little bit about what you do so that we can put people into the picture.
Okay, good.
The floor is yours.
Hi, Philippa. Thanks for having me on your show. As I said, apologies. I'm sitting outside, not in the office. I'm on a break from work, so please forgive me. But so my name is Tony Burkson. I run an infrastructure company in Ghana called Vaob Group. Historically, we've been focused on originating infrastructure projects in Ghana and West Africa, and we got into rail a couple of years ago because, as you're aware, the current government in Ghana has invested quite a lot of money in totally changing the railway space in Ghana. So about 4 years ago, we set up VRail, which is a subsidiary of our business. And VRail really had two key areas that we wanted to focus on. One, rolling stock leasing. We realized that, first of all, it would be too expensive for governments to acquire brand new rolling stock. And with this, Ghana wasn't our only market. And then two, we looked at the freight opportunity in Ghana. Most of the state-owned railways in Ghana currently do not operate. The Ghana Railway Company is pretty much bankrupt. So there's a rail renaissance in Ghana happening, and we wanted to be part of it. So to summarize VRail, it's a local rolling stock leasing company that also has a division that's about to start a freight operating business in Ghana. We buy new rolling stock, we buy old rolling stock. If it's old rolling stock, we renovate it, we upgrade it, and then we lease it into different markets. Currently, Ghana is our focus, but we're hoping to move into Tanzania and Nigeria in the coming months and years. So that's the business that we're operating.
All right. So when you put it like that, let's just break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Have you already got rolling stock, or are you looking to procure rolling stock? I know you mentioned something about some big news being announced in terms of rolling stock. So share with me.
Okay, so I would tell you how. I wouldn't say all of it, but what I would say is we've signed an agreement with the Polish manufacturer to acquire 10 diesel multiple unit trains. These are passenger trains that we're going to be deploying into sub-Saharan Africa. And it looks like we're the first two will be going to the government of Ghana. And we are hoping, to have that announcement, I think, next month. So Ghana is going to have 2 brand new diesel multiple unit trains from PESA in Poland, which we are supplying to the government. We're going to be maintaining the trains, training Ghanaian engineers and drivers on how to operate the trains. And I believe that they will be run on the brand new Tema standard gauge line that the government of Ghana has just completed. We are talking to people in Kenya and Tanzania to also take some of these multiple unit trains.
Well, that's very exciting. So then now talk to me about the freight side, because obviously I think there is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is more money to be made on the freight side and servicing the volumes around that.
Yes.
So what does that picture look like, and what rolling stock do you have for that?
So in Ghana, what you find is that the western side of Ghana has really where the mineral roots are. So there used to be a line that the British government left when they left Ghana, connecting Kumasi, which is in the middle of the country, to Takrady, which is at the port. That line is pretty much kaput. And the only existing part is a 60-kilometer narrow gauge line that connects a manganese mine to the port. And that's currently being operated by Ghana Railway Company, but it's not being done efficiently. And your compatriots from Thello DB, I'm sure you heard, have signed an agreement to totally overhaul the Western line and start operating on that. So that's the mineral line. It's a very bankable line. But because of Thello's transaction, that opportunity is pretty much closed because Thello, along with Ghana Railway Company, are going to operate on that side. But on the eastern side of Ghana, there is also a brand new standard gauge line from the port of Tema, which goes up to a place called Mpakadan, which is really where the Volta Lake starts. And there's a brand new 100-kilometer standard gauge line. So we intend to start operating freight on that line from Q1 next year. We'll be moving limestone from the hinterlands to the port, where a lot of the cement manufacturers are. We're going to be moving bananas from inland to the port, some cement and a bunch of other stuff. But we're very excited about the freight business. We're in conversations with operational partners. As you can appreciate, freight in Ghana is a brand new, it's fairly new. There are not many operators in Ghana. I think, in fact, we're going to be the first private rail operator in Ghana. The only other operator is Ghana Railway Company Limited, which is a state-owned company. So we intend to partner with an international operator. We're talking to Traxton in South Africa, you know them. We're talking to Victuris in Belgium. And the idea is to partner with either of those, bring them into Ghana with their fleet, begin operations, build some internal capacity, and then we can go out and acquire our own locomotives and our own flatbed wagons and so on and start operating. But I'm quite aware of the fact that this is a very complex business and we don't want to rush into it without the necessary experience. So we would be partnering with either a Traxton or a Victuris. Oh, and we spoke to Grindrod as well. By the way, there's a lot of interest from South African operators in Ghana. I don't think they've been as lucky as they would like so far, but both Grindrod and Traxton have had conversations with us, and we'll pick a partner in the coming months and then launch the freight business in Q1 next year.
Working on the principle that this all works out.
Yeah.
And you find the right partner to go with.
Yeah.
What in your mind are the kind of volumes that you're looking at, and also what is the kind of expansion? You know, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk future.
Yeah. So just to give you the context, right? As of today, the government of Ghana has invested about $1.5 billion in building brand new standard gauge lines, right? So they've built about 100 kilometers in the east, and they're building another 200 kilometers in the west. If the fellow deal happens, that would extend probably another 150 kilometers in the west. So standard gauge transportation in Ghana is new. The government is building lines, it's investing in lines, and it's also open to private sector operators, you know, on the PPP model. We intend to be the first local operator that's starting the business of freight on the line. And then as the government builds new lines, we intend to then move our products onto those lines. On the existing standard gauge line that I was describing from Tema, we believe that in the first year of operations, we're going to be moving about 3 to 5 million tons. About 2.5 million of that will be limestone. Another million will be clay. So there's a huge cement manufacturing hub in the port of Tema, where currently most of the ingredients are imported. So they import limestone, they import clinker, and we have a lot of those inland. So with the rail coming on board, we think it's more cost effective to transport the limestone and the clinker from inland to the factories at the port. And that's going to be our main focus for the first year of operation. So our target selling for year one will be between 3 to 5 million tons of limestone and cement. The banana and other stuff, there's not a lot of it, but you know, that's nice business to have. But the main focus will be limestone and clinker. Sorry, limestone and clay.
Okay, so that's all very exciting. You're going to be at Enertrans coming up. What are you hoping to achieve? What are your expectations from the upcoming event?
So we're keen to speak to rolling stock manufacturers and suppliers. We're looking to speak to locomotive manufacturers and suppliers. As you know, the lead-in to acquire rolling stock sometimes can take 2 to 3 years. So we want to start those conversations now. The PESA conversation started probably 2 years ago, and we're just about closing it. That's for the passenger diesel multiple units. So we want to start conversations with manufacturers that potentially could supply us with locomotives, with flatbed wagons, and so on and so forth. And also to see what the latest technology is. What are people doing in the more developed rail markets, and what can we learn and sort of import into Ghana as Ghana begins its rail revolution. I mean, when I come to South Africa, and you know, you see what rail does in SA. and you go back to Ghana, it feels a bit, like we're from like a couple of centuries behind where you guys are, both on the freight side and on the passenger side. So we want VRail to be like the beachhead, if you like, for modernizing rail in Ghana and doing what other countries are doing.
And has the government of Ghana been quite receptive to the kind of open access private operators? I mean,
yes. Look, I think the fact of the matter is the current financial situation that Ghana finds itself in, right? The government is fiscally challenged, so it simply cannot afford to do all the construction itself and so on and so forth. So they've run a couple of BOTs. I think there's a BOT ongoing to connect the port of Tema to Kumasi, which is the second biggest town. That's a $1.6 billion infrastructure project. And I think there are 5 companies that have been shortlisted to build that line. I think they also have a BOT to connect Burkina Faso to Ghana. And 2 companies I'm aware have been shortlisted for that as well. So the government is moving away from having to pay and build railway itself through the exchequer, if you like, to more sort of PPP, BOT type transactions, which is great, right? Because it means that private sector operators can come in, raise the money, build the line, operate on it, and then in 25, 30 years you can hand it over to the government if you so wish. So yeah, it's like, and I think this particular government is fairly open to the private sector as well. As you've seen with the Tello DB transaction, there's a lot of people in Ghana that were not totally convinced that it was the right way to go. But the government felt that with the level of investment that project could bring into the country, it was worth pushing ahead with it. And that's why they've gone ahead with that.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing you next
Awesome.
week, and I'm looking forward to taking this conversation further.
Yes.
I'm very excited for you. It's we always think these things only happen in South Africa, but it's good to see it happening elsewhere.
Exactly.
And I'm looking forward to seeing whether you start connecting with your neighbors in terms of the private operator.
Exactly. And I think that's the problem that we have, because in West Africa, it's actually more expensive to move your goods, right? From like Ghana to Nigeria compared to like Ghana to the UK or some of these, because there's no real connection, right? And the roads are not great and they're not secure. It beats me where, for example, the ECOWAS group have not come up to say, let's jointly build a railway line connecting all our capitals along the ports, the water line. But maybe that's what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, like when I read about SA, Transnet operating trains into Mozambique or to Namibia, like this seems to be very well connected by rail in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa as well at the moment. They're really trying to connect. We're not seeing the same type of development in West Africa. And I'm hoping that, I understand the Minister of Rail in Ghana will be at Trans, and I think the rail minister from Nigeria will be as well. So this might be an opportunity for, I think, the West African ministers of rail to start thinking about how to connect a bit more. So I'm looking forward to meeting you, and maybe we'll share more about our PESA link story with you when we get there.
Fantastic. Yes. So we'll do a catch up in person.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you.